Welcome to What If We Can Change It All, the podcast.
A podcast created by Movement.Medicine.
My name is Sherise.
And my name is Gianine.
We believe that we have the power and therefore we can change it all.
This podcast is all about reclaiming your power.
Welcome to our first episode. We are beyond excited that we are doing this, and also that you're here, of course. This episode will actually be just a short introduction about us, about our stories, about why we started this, about why we started maybe even Movement.Medicine. We will just flow and just go with us.
Yeah, we're just gonna see what comes out. This is something that has been cooking for a while. So we're just very excited to finally do this and to finally share this with you all. So today is just about us. But we also have some amazing guest speakers planned, some healing practitioners, but also some people with beautiful stories, with inspiring stories. So yeah, stay tuned.
Yeah. So I guess I will start.
Yeah.
It's always the question where to start, right? Where to start your story. And I feel called to say that somehow I've always been very sensitive as a child. And so I was always feeling into other people's energies and also telling my parents about them, right? So I was telling them without them asking me if they were like trustworthy or if I felt something weird, and I would share that with them. But I don't want to say it wasn't allowed, because actually I never heard anything negative about it, but it also wasn't stimulated, and therefore it was there and it was okay, but I never really went into it. And so it became something that I could feel and did, but it was somewhere in the back of my mind, right? And so skipping all the years in between, at some point in my life, I think I was around 21, a lot happened, and at some point I didn't feel that good. And actually that is like being very softly expressed. I wasn't looking very healthy. I lost a lot of weight. I was very pale. I was dizzy all the time. I was very tired. It wasn't just going well. I didn't have any energy basically left. And so I decided that I had a lack of iron, actually. So I Googled and I found out, well, having not enough iron running through your blood means actually all the symptoms I have. But things didn't get any better at all. So I went to the doctor at some point, and he was asking me if I experienced a lot of stress. And I told him that I didn't. But actually a lot happened during that time in my life, and a lot of dramatically changes happened. And so he anyways recommended me to talk to someone, right? So I went to a psychologist, and I went to different ones and found someone that I thought felt aligned. And so like if we are putting labels on it, right, she said that I had a depression. And so I started going to her, and at some point it didn't feel good anymore. And so I decided that I was healed. So I told her that I was feeling fine again, that I was very grateful of her and her work, but that I felt better, and that I didn't really feel like I needed to come here. And so I think we had a couple more sessions, and I started to like playing this, especially during the sessions, right? Playing this girl who was vibrant of life anymore, although I didn't. And she started leaving me. And so we ended our sessions together. And shortly after, actually, it of course went worse, and so I started looking again for someone to help me, and I actually found this amazing therapist, and had beautiful conversation with her, and she helped me to understand that, first of all, that it was always in connection with other people, and so she helped me also understand the patterns of the other persons, which basically didn't without any judgment. So she helped me understand the patterns of other persons and thus understand why they were acting and reacting the way they did, which helped me understand and, well, basically helped me to not forgive yet, because I didn't forgive at all and I wasn't there at all, but it helped me to also maybe start forgiving myself, or start understanding myself, and start understanding that I also had patterns. And it was basically the first step on this journey, and basically the first step of understanding my own thoughts and my own behaviors. And so shortly after, like, I started Googling, and I found Vipassana, and Vipassana is a 10-day meditation course, meditating 10 hours a day as well, and having the noble silence rule. And this means that there's no eye contact, there's no talking, there is no writing, there's no journaling, there's no phone, there's nothing. Like, there's food at certain times at the day, and there's meditating, and that's it. And this was extremely harsh, and I really had to experience it all, dive deep, and I really had to sit with myself. And this was the first time that I was so much confronted with myself, and I saw all of the shit and all of the, let's call it bullshit, all of the bullshit happening in my head, right? And it was the first step of understanding the power of my thoughts, I would say. And so I wasn't healed during those meditation days, right? But this was, again, a step further towards understanding myself and feeling more free in myself. And so after traveling through Nepal, having a depression, living with the monks, still feeling depressed, but also seeing more the beauty of life again. And then also sitting with myself and being in quietness and stillness, it helped me to understand that there was still a lot of work to do, but that I also made big steps already. And so coming back in Amsterdam and talking still with my therapist, I started investing a lot in myself, and I started investing a lot in different healing and energy healing modalities. So I learned a lot. I started with Reiki, and I went into other Japanese healing modalities. I went into Tibetan healing modalities, and I spent 3 months in India, where I also learned like Kundalini energy and Kundalini yoga, and also went truly deeply in myself and healing through the chakras. And I ended with shamanic energy, and this was another journey in my soul and through my soul, and understanding like the deeply inhabited patterns that I had and that I created, and healing my mind, my limiting beliefs, tapping into my energy field in ancestral work, in shadow work, in inner child work, and basically in it all. And it's really helped to understand myself and diving deeper within, and understanding. And I think this is one of the most valuable things I start understanding, is that we are creating our own lives, right? And we can see this as something harsh by we are creating our own lives, and I have a lot of like shitty, miserable things happening in my life, but it can also mean that we are creating our lives, and therefore we are able to change it, right? And with the right tools, with the right guidance, with the right support, we can actually create that what we truly desire, in connection and in alignment with our blueprint, in alignment with our soul's journey. And doing all these different modalities, really going in, it helped me understand all that was happening in my mind. And I think it has been a journey. And I think the first time I got to understand that was where I just figured out, right, that I had this like blood thing and iron thing going on, and I was still doing it all, and I didn't have like any energy at all, but I was still doing my internship as a dancer. And so I was sitting on the in the train. And
I think both can.
I was sitting in a train, and so I felt super overwhelmed, and there were like a lot of people around me, and I couldn't handle it anymore. I couldn't think of having to spend another day dancing, although it was my big passion. I couldn't think of like just finishing this travel basically, and so I started crying in the train. And I was traveling with one of my best friends, and so she was there for me, but it was hard because it was like I felt so much panic and terror and fear in my body, and I didn't know how to do with it. And it was like, for me, it was like hitting rock bottom, and didn't have any clue on how to come out of it. And so it was a journey, and but actually it helped me to become who I am right now and feel more free than I ever did before. That doesn't mean that I didn't have like other experiences that felt not that amazing and great right in between, and that there didn't like arise like a lot of like trauma and acting and doing maybe like from patterns and behaviors that I now don't have and don't support anymore. But it allowed me to work with it and to reach the other side of the tunnel, let's say, and to see that there is light. And this sounds so cliche, and it maybe is, but there is, right? We have sometimes to move through it in order to feel and see the other side, in order to feel more free, in order to feel more connected towards yourself and others. We have to move through, let's say, the uncomfortable part. We have to jump. We have to go for it, and this can feel scary as fuck. But the outcome is so beautiful, and the outcome can give you so much, and that's what we're here for. That's why we also created Movement.Medicine. That's why we are supporting. That's why we went on our own healing journeys, because we believe that we can change it all.
Yeah, definitely. And I love that you said that. And if you go back to yourself, like sitting in a train, without going too deeply, of course, but what was like the main thought that you had, and where you really thought, okay, this is enough? What was really the main thing that came up for you in that moment?
I don't know my exact thoughts anymore.
That's okay.
It has been some years, but I think the main feeling that was there was that I couldn't handle it anymore, that everything was too much. And honestly, that I actually even didn't know if I still wanted to live, right? And that was scary, because I didn't know how to deal with all of that. And I also felt ashamed at the same time, right? I was this, or I saw myself as this shy girl, but also very alive and also vibrant and doing what she loved. And somehow I didn't feel the drive to live anymore, and everything felt super dark. So there was this really dark clouds around me, and maybe I actually think other people didn't really see that, but I felt that. And accepting that and communicating that to like my family, to close friends, was painful and scary. But like in the end, it helped me to reclaim my power. And I'm not sure if I really answered the question.
You did, you actually
but
did.
yeah, that was what it was, and that was how it felt. And it was deep. I went deep, and I went so deep, and I didn't know if there was another side at that point, right? But there was, luckily. and yeah, I refound myself, and I found why I'm here and for what I'm here and how to move through that. And I guess now sharing my story is another step, and throughout these episodes we will even share more. This is just a basic introduction, right? But yeah, we hope that with sharing this we can be also an inspiration, or not an inspiration, but like inspire people, and inspire people to also change it all, and that they can change it all, and that everything can be possible.
I have one last question, and maybe this is a hard question, but if you would give like any advice to someone who's also sitting in a train or in a car or on a bike and just like being very, very, very overwhelmed by it all and like feeling very low, what is like something that you would say to that person?
Oh,
I know it's a really hard one.
it's a really hard one, and there's no right or wrong, I feel.
Definitely.
Although it's like such a subtle and such a vulnerable topic.
What would have helped you? Maybe that's easier.
I think this is what would have helped me? I think someone to truly see me, and I don't want to blame the people around me, because they saw me as much as I showed to them, right? So I think it's a two-way stream. It's about people willing and having to really see me, and at the same time being so vulnerable and so open that I was able to really show myself. So I think it's about finding the right people around you, and this can be in friendships and in families and in whatever, but sometimes this also means like finding the right help, right? Because sometimes we feel like we don't have the right people around us. So it's about that. And then also allowing yourself to be seen. And this, especially in these times where you feel like shit, when you feel like there's no other way, there's no better way. It's hard to do it, but it's so important to allow yourself to be seen, also in your misery and all that's happening. Because then, and I don't want to say only then, but then there is room for change, and there's room for someone else to not help you but support you. Yeah, this is what helped me finding, I guess, that second psychologist that really saw me and saw also what I needed in order to feel safe and heal, and share with her like my raw self, right, and not just the mask self. And she opened the doors for me to allow myself to be seen and just embark on this journey. Yeah, I think that.
Thank you for that. I think that's really, really good advice. And at the same time, it's like same as a lot of life. It's about giving and receiving, right? You can desire something from someone else, but if you aren't open to like fully receive it, or if you open to fully give that to that person, it is harder to receive, or vice versa, right? It's always like a two-way street, as you also said.
Yeah.
It
can feel hard, but yeah, you can do it.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing that with everyone.
You're so welcome. Let's dive into your story, no?
Yes. Where to start? I guess my story started, well, a really long time ago. But for me, the turning point was a bit, I think it was around 19 or something. And it is fair to say that in my life, I went through some really big traumas. We both did, actually. Often when we think of trauma, we think of like really big live events, like for example, like let's say a shooting or a plane crash or like whatever it is.
What all happened?
What all happened. Yeah. So we went through a lot as little kids, and I always have been really good in suppressing my whole life, and I really made myself like the master of putting on that mask and pretending that everything was okay. I was really good at that for a really long time. And at a certain point, I was at school. I'm a professional dancer now, but then I was still in school and I needed to do auditions for an internship. And I had one company that I really wanted to dance for. And yeah, it was really a dream of mine to dance with them. And somehow I didn't have any knowledge yet about like the way your thoughts work, the way your emotions work, the way your beliefs work, and like manifesting. I had no idea about all of it. A lot has changed since then, but I had no idea about all of that. And I could just feel in my body that I belonged there, that I just felt that I was gonna dance there. So I did the audition, my first audition for a company ever, and well, the feeling was mutual. So they accepted me. I got the job, and I remember that I was so happy. And well, things turned out a bit differently. So I always was really a child of my parents. I always liked to be cared for, still like that. And like people cook for me, clean for me. So I always lived at home, but that being accepted there meant that I needed to move to another country, which was a really big step for me because I always lived at home and I always had like a support system to fall back on, right? So I moved there, and as soon as I signed my contract, like things drastically changed. And for me, this was always something that you heard, like it was kind of the horror dance stories that you always hear about. And unluckily, but now I'm very grateful for it. That is also something that happened there, right? In my case. So to keep a very long story short, we as dancers weren't treated right at all. The work environment was very negative. We heard multiple times a day that we were like shit, that we weren't doing enough, that we weren't good enough, that it was not what it was supposed to. Also that we were like not, what's the like, muscly enough,
Muscular enough.
thank you so much. That we weren't muscular enough, that people needed to lose weight. It was really a bad environment, right? And then I actually went there, and I had a whole plan for myself. I was like, okay, this year I'm gonna be an intern, and then next year they're gonna give me like a professional contract, and I'm gonna be like a professional dancer there. I'm gonna stay there, and then I'm gonna go on to like my next step in my next company that I wanted to go to. And then that plan actually wasn't there anymore after week 1. So I was there for just 1 week, and I had my first panic attack. And I remember it so clearly because we were doing a run, and during that run through, the other dancers were there for a longer period of time. So I had just a month to learn like 2 pieces. And normally that's something that I can do, but because the pressure was so high and the negative work environment was also like not what I was used to, my body just shut down. I couldn't remember stuff. I made like very weird mistakes. Couldn't like see the left from my right, like those kind of things, right? And we were doing that run through, and the artistic director was like standing like, I think it was like a meter in front of me, and she was yelling at me that I was doing it wrong and that it wasn't good enough and that I had to do more. And things just went black for me. At a certain point, I kind of lost my sight. My my heart started pounding. I couldn't really breathe anymore, and I really was having like a huge panic attack, and I really thought that I was going to die, right? Because that is what panic attacks do with you. Your nervous system is like so stressed out that it just doesn't know what to do, and mine really didn't know what to do at all. So I went out of the studio and tried to calm myself down, but that was something that was really hard. And I remember that she walked out with me, and then she opened the door for me, and then she went back inside to go on to rehearse with the other dancers again. And then I felt so alone. I felt so alone because I actually thought that I was going to die, and she was just going back inside to finish the run. And I was so angry. And that anger was actually something that calmed me down again in a weird way, because I was able to express that anger. So I shut the door. I went into the most, I don't know, superhuman walk. I walked back into the studio and I finished the goddamn run. And whilst I was doing that, we finished, and I thought, what is happening here? Like, I just couldn't recognize myself, right? Like, how is this healthy? Like, something happened to me that never happened before, and I am so angry that I'm gonna push my body to finish this run in order to prove that to that woman that I can actually do it. And I lost myself there completely. I had a lot of anger in me. I had a lot of anger in me, repressed anger that couldn't really go out. And at a certain point, I started to lie to family or friends, because I gave them little snippets about how things were going. But if someone loves you and like wants to take care of you, they also want to give you advice. And advice was something that I wasn't really ready for at that time, because I just wasn't there yet. So if someone would say to me, you should do this, or I would have done this, or like just tell her this, or like just say no, that was something that was really hard for me to accept, because I just couldn't at that moment, because I was like so stressed and like so not myself and like so not in my own power, that hearing other people say that to me was just a big fat cross. So I stopped telling them stuff, actually. I started lying. I said that everything was going fine, that things were getting better, and yeah, that it was okay now, which it wasn't. So I stayed there for another 6 months, because that seemed like the best option to do. I always was someone that didn't want to quit. I am not a quitter, and that is something that kept me going, although I actually deep down knew that that wasn't the best thing for me to do. And at a certain point, I actually couldn't take it anymore, because I was so tired. I really almost burned out. I was very overworked, that I actually couldn't eat anymore. And if you know me, you know that I like food. I really enjoy eating. I really enjoy good food. And I went from like eating 3 meals a day to eating 1 meal a day. And I slept for like 4 hours. I lost weight. I came back. It just looked like I was training for the Olympics. I was like very, very strong, muscular, but also very unhealthy. So when I moved back, I thought, okay, that was that. Let's go on to the next one. And that was something that I was completely wrong about, because that is actually where everything started. Because I still had the panic attacks. I was scared to talk. I had huge social anxiety. I was scared to dance. I was so in the mode that I needed to do everything the right way, and that I couldn't fail, and that I needed to be good enough, that that left me really scared. So for example, if I was ordering food, I would stand in front of the window to see if the delivery guy was there, because what if I missed him? Because if I missed him, I fucked up, and I couldn't fuck up anymore. And it was at a certain point that I had a conversation with my sister. And she said that there were some things that needed to change. And she sent me like some masterclass from someone, and I went there and I was like, I think I need to do this. And that was the first time that I invested in myself in this like 4-month program that I did. And I learned all these things about like energy, about your thoughts, and like the whole shebang. And then I also felt that I needed to do more. And so I also did a coaching course. I got certified in a body code and in the emotion code to release that negative energies out of your system. And this was also eye-opening for me, that it really got me to think, okay, but I am so grateful that this happened, and that also that I allowed it to happen, because without this experience, I wouldn't have been this person. I wouldn't have got all these lessons that I got now, right? And I think that is something that was really powerful to me, because it got me to understand that I truly have the power within me, and that by just making a decision in your head to do things differently, and to like seek for help, and like offer yourself that space, and allow yourself that space to actually heal and deal with all the gunk that is in there, opened a lot of doors for me. Because I thought, okay, this is because of this, and it is her fault, and blah 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 blah, and they should have treated me better. They could have a bit, but I also allowed them to do that, right? And that was not the first time. It was the first time that something like this happened, but like that was not the core of the issue. That was not the core of like the things that I attracted, right? And by like going in this deep journey, I could finally understand my patterns. Oh, this is why this work environment wasn't good, or like that one wasn't good, or like these people are like treating me like this or that, right? Because it was just a pattern that I have that I needed to break. Yeah. And I think looking back at it, there was the last part. Looking back at it, I had all these signs. I got a lot of signs from the universe that this wasn't my place. Really a lot, but I just really, really wanted to do so, right? Because I got I got accepted. And then there was like, I think the first problem was like negotiations about my contract that went wrong, and it took a bit too long. And then well, there was this whole drama around it, and then there was like an issue with the money, then there was an issue with the house, then there was an issue with school. Like there were all those issues, and it was like so hard before I even got there. And I just didn't listen to it. But somehow my body could feel like, okay, maybe just not. But I totally ignored it, because I was so determined to go there, because I really thought this is the place that I need to be. And in the end, I really needed to be there. To be clear, I really needed to be there, because otherwise I wouldn't sit here like this. Definitely not. But like, sometimes we so ignore the signs that we get, that we kind of get lost in our own brain, in our own thoughts. And it really taught me to listen to those little signs. If I get signs from someone, okay, this person isn't really right for me, now I can listen to that, because I know my signs are very right. I guess that.
Yeah. I think we're so used to not listening to the signs, right? I do have a question for you.
Uh-oh.
As I know you pretty well, and you shared already before that there was a lot of anger repressed in your system before having your first panic attack, and having like this repeating pattern coming up, right? And maybe without going into all the stories that are connected to that, there was a certain pattern in your life of repressing your anger, and thus it had to come all the way to the situation where you were and have a panic attack, right? Can you, I don't know, elaborate a bit on that, like share a bit on that and what that did to your system and to working through that, maybe like patterns getting like healed and seen and
Yeah. Well, I think for me, as I shared earlier, I really made myself the master in like putting on that mask, right? And really repressing my emotions and especially negative emotions. And with the knowledge that I have now, because I studied a lot around emotions and how they work and like how they move through the body and how they can become stagnated and stop. The interesting thing that I had is because I had so much frustration, so much anger, but also so much shame within me. The interesting thing with emotions is that then you attract more of the same situations. And that was exactly what I was doing. So they weren't all like work related or dance related. They were also like personal related or like friendship related or just traumatic trauma related. But because I suppressed it like for so long, I also denied myself the ability to fully heal the things that I went through. Because your body just goes onto the automatic pilot then, right? Okay, there's anger there, you know what to do. Okay, there's frustration there, you know what to do. You just don't allow it to be there. And by doing so, you're creating more and more and more and more trauma in your life. And that was exactly what I was doing until I had that panic attack, until I was so angry that I went full bitch mode inside and like faked the whole run and then left without saying anything.
yeah, until you had to see it.
Yeah, I really had to see it because it was so there. And I think mainly because at that point, because it was like such a scary experience having that panic attack, and because I felt so alone, I think that for me really was the trigger. No, this is not happening. This is so not happening to me right now. I guess that. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, thank you for adding that. And I think it's a valuable thing to understand and to know, right? That suppressing emotions means also attracting more of that emotion. Because life is giving you the same situation over and over again until you heal it. And that's an interesting thing, actually.
Yeah, and I think that is also so beautiful and powerful with trauma because an old trauma only comes up if you're ready to really look it in the eye, right? And by going through this experience, it really allowed me to say hi to this old trauma and to say, hey, how are you doing? And to go to the next one, right? It really allowed myself to do that because I was ready, because I wasn't like, we still suppress emotions from time to time. We are still human, but like I wasn't doing like it on a regular, like weekly.
Yeah. So that's a bit about our personal stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will share more about it when we are also talking with other people, right? And tap deeper into them. But I guess this is a beautiful first introduction. We want to thank you very, very deeply from our hearts that you are listening to us, that you're here with us, that we can share this journey with you.
Yeah.
Anything to add?
Yeah, so as I said earlier, we're gonna find people, and we have a beautiful list with people that are willing to join us. So we are very excited about this. If you are listening to this, by the way, and you feel like, oh, I actually really want to talk with them, feel free to reach out. We have like a forum and stuff to come on our podcast as a guest. So know that that is there. Keep our Instagram in your.
Follow us on Instagram.
Thank you so much for that. Follow us on Instagram to get more information about like when we're like releasing new things and stuff. I will put it somewhere here
in the description.
Yeah. Thank you.
And yeah, I guess that's it for now.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We are super grateful, and
We will see you
soon
in the next episode.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye bye.